So we have a lot of fun here on the Magical Talking Hat, but sometimes we have to get serious about important issues that are near and dear to our heart. So I want to take a minute in this podcast before we get on to all the fun and games to have a serious talk about Kanye West. No, I'm kidding. We don't give a shit about Kanye West at all, ever. I mean, seek help, dude. Good on you, but whatever. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Magical Talking Hat Podcast, the only podcast in the world that might have vomit live on the air. My stomach is very unsettled, so I could just puke in the middle, and I am not turning it off. Like those of you on YouTube, you're gonna see it. I'm gonna aim for the camera. Just because I think it would be an impressive look, and the camera was pretty cheap, so I can just buy another one. Sure. I'm Tony.
And I'm William, and this is episode, let me check, 548.
Wow, William,
so cool to have all these screens.
William just today discovered that the computer he sits at every week to do the podcasts has 3 monitors.
Oh, yeah, there's the laptop, and then there's 2 monitors. Yeah. That's 3 total.
He also learned to math.
Yeah.
I don't know how he missed them before. Maybe he thought they were decorative. But
well, they both had Wonder Woman on them, so I could just look up.
Okay. But
now
as we all know, format changed today, and so it was useful for him to have up email in one screen, me in another screen, and then to cheat, he has the blog up in another screen so he can just see what the last episode number was.
Yeah.
So the one job he had on this show just got a lot easier.
A lot easier.
Yes.
I was having a hard time remembering that number, 548. It was, for some reason, it just wasn't sticking. But there it is, 547, 548.
Yeah.
Dalai Lama hates you still.
It does. I got some really, really mean text messages from him this week. We say this week, it's been 3 days. We're doing this early. It's on a Sunday.
Yeah, we're doing early. Right.
So for us, it's brunch. For you, it's Thursday. If you're joining us for the first time ever, this is such an auspicious day to do it because this is the start of the new format option. So I'm not even going to go into the past. In fact, I should update the blog's description of things. And I will instead say we have a hat. It is magical in that it has its own email address, themagicaltalkinghat@gmail.com. And then people, like all of you, write into that email address, themagicaltalkinghat@gmail.com, with emails that you want us to see and discuss. And then the hat magically forwards those to us. And then we read them and we talk about them and do that for about an hour, except then that's the whole show except the parts that aren't, which it remains to be seen how much is not, but probably most of it, because why if it ain't broke?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's more like if it can't be fixed.
There we go.
Then don't fix it.
If it's beyond repair,
don't fix it.
Stop trying. What's wrong with
you? Right.
I do want to talk. Let's talk just for a minute. Are we watching What If?
What, you mean the Marvel thing?
Yeah.
We watched the one with Agent Carter or whatever, or Captain Carter, but otherwise, no, not really.
Oh, okay. Then maybe we're not going to talk about this. The most recent one, I'm going to say it is the 5th, I believe. Is far and away my favorite episode so far for one and only one reason. It's the first one that doesn't bear any scrutiny. It's just so patently ridiculous that there's no like, this story's dumb. Like that's the whole, it's zombies. You can, I'm not spoiling anything because if you go to Disney Plus and you go to the screen for that episode, you see a zombie. and it's about zombies. And so, you know, you can't really, I don't do a lot of critique of zombies. Every other episode has issues for me. Even the ones that I kind of enjoyed, and some of them I really did not enjoy. But this one is just fucking zombies. And so it's like, yeah, whatever, zombies. So it's fun. But yeah, it's a low bar. I mean, we like it well enough to keep watching it, but I don't know that we like it enough to like it. So it's out there. And you can totally skip it because it is, I mean, I suppose technically it's canon, but it's, you know, multiverse bullshit, so it's never going to come up other places, so whatever. It is interesting because they almost entirely got all the actual voice actors, and that is fascinating. And in particular, because they did it a long time ago, so they got Chadwick Boseman to do things anytime T'Challa shows up, and it's weird to hear him again. But yeah, everybody, they didn't get Robert Downey Jr. and they didn't get Scarlett Johansson, but they got like everybody else. Also, fun fact, instead of Scarlett Johansson, they have Lake Bell. And I know Lake Bell as an actress as well. I would not have thought of her as someone who can do a good Scarlett Johansson voice, but she kind of does. So how's your 3 days?
You know, just the right usual stuff. What about you?
Yeah, about the same. I'm gonna have therapy on Tuesday.
All right. Or do you have any feelings about that? Like, because it's not the person that you were looking for.
Yes.
So
I feel better about that now because I had reasons why I wanted that person, but ultimately I think in my head, based on conversations I had with my friend, since it's her therapist, I had created a person in my head based on absolutely no reality. And then when I had to switch to someone else, I'm like, well, this person I didn't know nothing about. And the truth is, I knew nothing about the first person. So it's all the same. I'm going to be a little curious because it's been a long time since I've been to therapy. And generally a question, either explicit or implied, is, so why are you here for therapy? And I have only the most nebulous of answers to that. And I don't know how we proceed from that point. Especially because I think the models are much more along the lines of, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been to therapy in a long time, but I feel like back in the day, therapy was like, you're going to come here regularly so you can process shit that you're bad at processing without coming here. And nowadays, it feels like it's more, you have a thing. Let's help give you tools to deal with this thing, and then you can go on your way. And I don't know that that's bad. I don't think that's what in my head, I'm used to. And again, if that is the case, being all nebulous like this is going to make it harder, because it's harder to find solutions if you have trouble identifying the problem.
Sure. I mean, the 3 classes that I've completed in my graduate program, all 3 classes spend a lot of time talking about what the purpose of the profession is. A huge amount of time. So I can tell you what new students are learning about what your purpose is as a counselor. And it's 2 contradictory things.
I was going to say, if 3 classes spent a long time on it, it's not a very simple answer.
No, it's 2 contradictory things. One thing is counselors, in contrast to, say, a psychiatrist or even a PhD level psychologist, and also in contrast to, say, social workers, is about wellness, resilience, development, and all of that, sort of suggesting that you don't have to have a diagnosis or a pathology to see a counselor. I mean, you just want someone to help you, like what you're saying, going in and you sort of have this nebulous thing. According to the professors and the textbooks that I've been looking at, That's the perfect type of situation for a counselor because it doesn't
Yay!
have to be. On the other hand,
Okay.
here's the other thing.
I'm gonna talk to my therapist about you.
The other thing you get is, well, we don't want to, we talked about this a little last time. We don't want to be, new age fluffy stuff. We want to be evidence-based, et cetera, et cetera. Plus a lot of the third part, like insurance, requires some kind of diagnosis or some kind of evidence that something's working because they're paying for it. So on one hand, you get, well, the purpose of counselors is this sort of a nebulous thing. A person, if they just want to check their wellness, basically, they can come to us and that's fine. But then there's the business side of it, and also not just the business side, but also the, like, how do you get grants? How do you get government money? How do you, well, that you have to have measurable, et cetera, evidence-based, et cetera. So on one hand, you're being told this isn't a medical model. We're not going to diagnose a person and treat them, blah, blah, blah. We're going to talk to the person, get to know the client, understand the client's wellness. But then on the other end of it is no, we're going to assess the person. We're going to diagnose them. So basically you get both messages, one's coming from this direction and one's coming from this direction. And I'm not sure, I'm not getting any indication that anyone realizes that they're somewhat contradictory, even though they are. So I don't know what you're going to experience. Maybe the person will just be, oh no, that's fine. Let's just talk. Or maybe it'll be both. Maybe it'll be like, well, we can just talk and so on, but if your insurance company is going to pay for it, we kind of have to go through this assessment too.
Well,
so.
And tomorrow, my appointment's Tuesday. Tomorrow, I'm going to call my insurance company and get the specifics on what is covered, because the situation is such that I'm doing it whether my insurance is paying for it or not, at least to begin with. But in order for them to know exactly how to proceed, their office manager was like, you should probably call your insurance and be sure exactly what benefits you have and if there's copays and things like that. So I'm going to do that. So maybe after that call, I'll have a better sense of which way I should be pushing.
Right. Because the fact of the matter is, a lot of sessions are, a lot of people in the middle class can probably just afford them. Which in which case, if you don't have to deal with an insurance company or a third party to pay for it, it might actually increase the flexibility of the counselor.
And from what I saw, because I had to do all the patient intake forms and everything the other day, I know how much it costs. And it's expensive enough that if my insurance will take care of some or all of it, that would be a huge help. Sure. But it is little enough that it's worth the price of my mental health.
Sure, exactly. Especially if you're only going to do it maybe every other week instead of every week or something like that. Yeah.
It's just, and I've just had so many different therapy experiences that every time it's like a new fun game. So we'll see. But I am kind of excited for that because there's been this limbo of something's going on with me and I'm not sure what, and I've sort of tried how to deal with it, but I haven't really gotten anywhere. So I like the idea of having some professional help, so to speak.
Sure. And I mean, my coming from a sociological perspective, like I do, I don't, my observation, what I think is the empirical fact of the matter is we aren't built to figure things out by ourselves. We're built to figure it out in interactions with other people. So, if those interactions aren't happening with the ordinary people in your life, finding a professional just makes sense.
Yeah, I have ordinary people in my life. I wonder how many listeners right now are listening and saying, damn it, I wish they had talked about Kanye West. This is probably something we should have talked about before the podcast because other people are not involved. But remember the art I showed you for my book cover?
Yes.
She sent me, she's been working on the coloration and stuff, and she sent me a partially done one. It's going awesome.
Very good.
Super psyched.
Outstanding.
You guys weren't here for it. There's a long story, but the short end is after some changes and adjusting things around, the artist who's doing the cover for my book came up with a thing and sent it to me, and I was like, holy shit, this is the perfect thing ever do this. And so she's doing that. So we're very excited about that.
It does. It looks great.
Yeah, I don't know that there's. Oh, I do want to say one thing. So, audiobooks. I finished the 5th one in the Peter Grant books that I've been listening to that I enjoy, but I've really been tearing through them, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe just a little. I mean, I already bought the 6th one, but I'm like, maybe a little break in between. I don't want to burn out on these. So I've been sitting for a long time on the Audible's audio play of Sandman. It's essentially the first 3 volumes of Sandman, I think, done as an audio play.
Right.
And I have been dragging my feet because Sandman's amazing, but I also kind of feel like, did I talk about this last week? This sounds familiar.
You did.
Oh shit. Then I already said it. Never mind. Go listen last week. I still feel the same. I'm really enjoying it more than I expected to.
I thought maybe you had something different to say about it.
No. It's very much. It's really cool, and I wasn't expecting it to be as cool as it is. It's been 3 days. Of course, I have already talked about this. I forget how those things work. All right. So, shall we just see what the hat has sent us? All right. I have a device for exactly this purpose. Pardon the background noise. The producer's nearby putting pants on. All right. Our very first full-length email. I didn't sign it. It's Craig. I think Craig falls under the category. If you don't sign it, if I know who it is, I'm just gonna say it. See, there she is. With pants on. All right. This is from Craig. In general, sign the email so I know exactly what you want to say. But you know. This might have been one that was supposed to come back when we had individual ones, because there's like 3 short questions on here. So I feel like this might have been under the wire, but it was after the point at which I officially announced that we weren't doing it this way anymore. So let's play with these. A mysterious figure in a lake hands you an object and declares you to be royalty. What item do they give you? I cannot back this up. I do not know why I think this, but the first thing pop in my head is a hot dog. A serious creature in the lake gave me it, or maybe it's a mystical thing where it's not. Like it came out of the lake, and it's not soggy. That's weird.
Are you supposed to eat it?
I don't know. They didn't say. They were incredibly vague about it. Oh. They didn't even say. They just said I'm royalty. They didn't even specify like of where. So honestly,
a hot dog maybe.
Is that I mean, America is kind of the hot dog place, but the inventor of it was, I think, Germany. So, and Germany used to be a lot of little principalities. The more I think about it, the more I think that this may just be a being in a lake who's really bored. He's playing a joke on me.
Well,
I mean, I don't. It makes less sense than similar stories of which I have heard. You know? How about you? What'd that lake thing give you?
Royalty. Well, I'm going to make a lot of assumptions here, with apologies to Jim McGregor. I'm going to assume that, you know, it's actual royalty of an actual place. It doesn't really matter, but it's an actual place. Let's just say that.
Okay.
All of England, all of Iowa. I don't know. And I would presume that, like the stories that this is based on, the thing is supposed to be a symbol of that. Like, right? Like if you show it to other people, they'll go, "Oh yeah, that is the king, because the king or queen or whatever has that thing." So what would it be?
But I mean, the biggest version of this is a sword, and sword's not a king thing. Sword's somebody who wants to stab somebody else
Well, it is if
Lots of non-kings had swords.
it is if it is.
do.
Like, for example, the Grail was considered a king thing just because. I mean, it's not, there wasn't anything about grailness or a grail or a cup that
No, that's
signifies a
true.
king,
That's true.
but it's just, it became that. Like
All
someone
right.
said it was, and so it is, you know?
Okay.
So
But, I mean, you could fool people. You'd be like, look at this cup. This is great. It's like,
and many people
how come
did.
how come it has a poorly rendered scene from Star Wars on it? It's because I
That-
got it with a free fill up at the Shell station. But the point
that-
is, it's the Holy Grail.
That did happen. Europe is full of fake relics that people use to get people to, oh,
All
see, I
right,
have this
all right.
relic. Oh yeah, okay. Well, this church is going to be a place of pilgrimage then, and you'll make a lot of money.
And
They
this
did
is
it all the
what-
time.
Okay, so you're not claiming that the lake thing is going to give you something that is into like definitively people see it and it's like king. You're saying the lake thing is going to give you something and be like, this is the famous thing, TM.
Yeah.
And so you'll
Yep.
go around saying this is the famous thing, and they're like, oh, if he's got the famous thing, it's royalty.
Exactly.
All right, I'm with you. So go on.
No, I'm thinking here. I suppose then if it were thinking like that, then it would have to be something relevant specifically to the place that you're supposedly the king of.
I mean, why are we dancing around this?
Or the hat. I mean, that's what
You're-
we do.
You're gonna get some sort of corn-based item to prove you are the king of Iowa. I know it, the listeners know it. I feel like you're just pussyfooting up to it here, but come on. Oh, did
What's
you
that?
hear?
No.
She said it's gonna be a Red Delicious. Although actually
She's-
it'll be a Hawkeye. But
Yeah, she did steal the thing I was going to say. It was going to be
Ah,
it was going to be a thing that I could use to graft onto other trees and grow the original Hawkeye apple. That's what I was going to say. She guessed it. Trish
it's like
guessed it.
It's like she's met you. So the lake thing, I feel really insulting to this creature, but I don't have any details, so it's just the lake thing. Is going to declare William the new Johnny Appleseed.
King of Iowa, King of Iowa, and I can graft it onto any tree and it'll grow Hawkeye apples and it'll never die. And that's how
And
people will know.
eventually you're gonna
that I'm the king
destroy
now.
the apple crop. Like there will only be one kind of apple in the world because you've grafted it onto all of them.
Oh,
And
that
other
would,
fruits. There will be no more peach trees because
that's if
evil-
that
King William turned
That's
them
if
into
this-
Hawkeye apples.
no that's if the story is a tragedy.
Yeah.
Why do you think I would be a tragic king? You have no faith in me.
I think your one character flaw is your blind adherence to the Hawkeye apple. You are a perfect specimen of a human being in form and character, save for your
one
zealous
terrible weakness.
adherence to the Hawkeye as the one true apple.
I'll put all the people who like Honey Crisps and camps, and I'll be terrible dictator.
Trish, and I gotta admit, I'm coming around to fucking are angry about the Honey Crisps. And I'll tell you why. Because they're fine. Their whole thing is they're real sweet. And that's not bad. But the excitement was the fact that it was only for like 2 weeks out of the year. And now they're around year round. And it's like, hey, there's this apple. It's sweet. It has no other distinguishing characteristic. You want some? And everybody was like, I mean, I don't know. There are certain foodstuffs that part of their charm is their scarcity. And I know people abuse that and things, but like now that it's here all the time, I kind of don't care. And everybody still tries to get real excited, like, oh, Honeycrisp is the perfect apple. Look at no, I mean, when it was more novel, then yeah, but they're sweet and it's fine. I mean, if somebody gave me one, I'd eat it, but I like other ones better. All right, second question, because Greg put 3 on here. What's the biggest frivolous purchase you have made, and was it worth it? Now that is interesting. Because without attaching any more limits on it, frivolous is a broad category. So like, I've taken vacations that one could argue are entirely frivolous that cost thousands of dollars. But you could also argue that vacations are important for one's well-being. Now we both look like we've frozen, except my fan is still moving. I'm gonna get you a fan.
Oh no, I don't. I mean, I don't.
You strike me as somebody who doesn't buy too much frivolous stuff. Do you have any? Okay, my hunch is your most frivolous purchases are going to be wardrobe based.
Like this root beer shirt that I have on.
Yes, or a hat, or a costume.
Oh, costumes, sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would have to have been a costume. And that was a long time ago. And yeah, it was worth it because I wore it so often that I easily got what I paid for out of it. And as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think we should look at this more conceptually. I've made stupid purchases. I've definitely made purchases that were not worth it. But
yeah,
when it comes to frivolous things, there's a certain, because you could be like, oh, this purchase is frivolous, and I didn't use it a lot. Well, yeah, it's a frivolous purchase. Like, that's what that means. Whereas other things, you're like, oh, this will be a useful purchase, and then I don't use it, and that's not worth it. I think most of the time when I purchased something that was frivolous, like I sort of knew going in, so it was always worth it, really, or almost always.
See what you're saying, yeah.
Because like I could almost do the Nintendo Switch. We don't use the Nintendo Switch very much anymore, and it was quite expensive. It was not at the time a frivolous purchase. I bought it specifically for my physical fitness.
Right.
So I don't know if that was worth it, but I don't think it was a frivolous purchase. But yeah, I've blown a lot on specific things. I have blown hundreds of dollars before on things that were pretty wholly frivolous. Yeah, and it's usually worth it because I usually upfront like it's one of those, I won't do it unless it sparks joy, to borrow a phrase. And I do like this, the way, I think I've talked about this before, the way Trish and I handle our finances. Our finances are all joint, which is good because I make $0. And we have an account that holds all that stuff. We also each have our own individual account, and we essentially get allowance that goes to there. But that, nothing that we need comes out of that. And even to the degree of like frivolous thing, if it's a frivolous thing that we both want, it's usually coming out of our joint money. So that is, in a very real way, money to just blow on whatever the hell you want. And I'm pretty good at using it up because I'm a monster. But sometimes either one of us just sort of don't have the need to purchase anything impulse or whatever for a while, and then you look and you're like, wow, that has built up. And Trish recently had that. She's like, I got a lot in here. I'm gonna go crazy. And she got a whole thing. She got really into tea, and she bought a bunch of stuff, including buying a bunch of custom teas for me and stuff. And that was really fun. And I like being able to do that, and it's a good emotional outlet. So like when money's sort of tight, you're like, yeah, but you know, we've set aside this money that you can screw around with. So you never have to feel like, oh, I can't do things I want because I don't have the money. Like you've got a little bit. You may have to ration it out, but so I like that. That's
I do buy hats and shirts, but usually the reason I buy hats and shirts is because I want a thing that's associated with like Batman or root beer or whatever,
yeah.
but I need a shirt.
No, so
Right?
that's no, and that's very smart
Yeah.
because
Or
you're
a
like,
hat. I wear the hats and shirts.
I
So it's
need
like,
clothes. I want a souvenir. How about
yeah,
souvenir
right.
clothes? No,
Yeah.
I think that's, and I don't think that then it is not wholly frivolous. I think costumes are a good one.
Yeah, costumes.
For
But
me,
also
and this will
home
resonate with sorry.
decor. I was going to say home decor. We've got
I
things we
think that can
decorate
be one.
for Halloween and for things. These aren't necessary things. These are just things that we like to, during the Halloween season or fall, we like to look at our mantelpiece and see these things. It's like, oh, that's really cool. We don't need it. And sometimes they're not cheap, especially if we want to get nice ones that are going to last. You don't just go to the Halloween store and buy some cheap plastic thing. So I would say those would fall under frivolous. But I've never regretted getting a piece of, we put it up, it looks nice. We see it for 3 months or whatever. It's great.
I think if you consider your frivolous purchases before making them, and you have a certain amount of self-awareness, they should almost always be worth it.
Sure.
I know one that's going to resonate very well with Craig. Gaming books. RPG books are not cheap, and they are almost by definition frivolous. For Craig, maybe not, because Craig has a business built around it. So in fact, hell, you might be able to write off those on taxes, or however that works in the UK. You might be able to donate them to the Queen. I don't know, whatever. But for me, they're pretty wholly frivolous. And every once in a while, you're like, this game looks awesome, and you buy it, and then you play it like once, and you're like, this game sucks. And then you put the $40, $50 hardcover book up on your bookshelf and never touch it again.
Well, do you think video games would be considered frivolous, or?
In general, yes. I think there are definitely going to be exceptions, but that's probably one. But again, I very seldom. The games I have purchased that have turned out I should not have bothered with are all usually very cheap. I don't buy a big old full price AAA game without being pretty sure I'm going to be into it. I have bought games, but they're usually, it's like, oh, well, I like that Sherlock Holmes one. Oh, this is on sale for $2, and I bought it. And yeah, I probably got $2 out of it. Not much more though. But it prompted me to pay more for the earlier one. And to be fair, the earlier one I got a fair bit out of. So I think that was also worth it.
It's kind of a tricky thing, because what I've come to understand, and that I think is not just a matter of opinion. I think this is something that if people are observant, they'll see this is true, that people need stories. They need them. It's like food, clothing, shelter, story. You need them. Now, also like food, clothing, and shelter, you can get really crappy stories. You can get stories that aren't very nutritious, for example. But you can also get stories that are really important, and they feed your soul, so to speak. And how do you decide, right? How do you decide this story is junk food and this story is not, or this story is really important to my life and I need it just like I need the food in my pantry, or no, this is completely frivolous and this is like the candy of stories or whatever.
Well, a little sidebar here. My mind is now obsessed with this idea of like, if you're below the poverty line, you can apply for government stories and they give you stories for free, which I guess is sort of how PBS works. But I love the idea that like you just get in the mail, like here's some like generic paperbacks that are like really just dull, bland story. Like I love that idea.
Government stories.
The
Grade A
government
government stories.
Yes. Everyone just says story on the front. It doesn't have any title or anything. But no, I think with all okay, we're not going to use media here. With all stories, I think it is like cost aside, I think it is important to think about and recognize why you are experiencing those stories and what it's doing for you.
Sure. Yeah.
And in some cases, to sort of stretch your metaphor, they're not very nutritional, but they're doing something psychologically to me that I need. As I've talked about, like watching some reality TV. I don't watch very much, but often I'll pick like a show because it just lets me be very cathartic in emotional things, and I can be very judgy about these people and it doesn't matter. And then I'm like, oh, now I can be more calm and rational with actual people in my life.
So those stories are more like medicine than food.
A bit. Yeah.
What's kind of pill?
Or like a really good workout. I'm getting out all my energy here so that it doesn't spill out in a different circumstance.
It's not like other people don't acknowledge the importance of quote unquote healthy stories. I mean, when people insist that education is important, and when they point out that high school graduates and college graduates do better, whatever, what are we really saying? We're saying those people have been exposed to stories, some of them not fictional, but still stories that have edified them in a way that have made them successful in the life in a way that our culture measures success.
Yes.
So we do acknowledge this.
But the key flip side to this that I wanted to bring up is there are plenty of stories that are of high quality, quite nutritious, that, oh man, I really don't know where to take this metaphor. I want to say that don't agree with me, but I also want to say that like poison me. So there are stories. Yeah. There are stories that I'm like, I'm into this story. I feel it is doing bad things to me.
Interesting.
And weeding those out is like 30% of my life these days.
It's like being lactose intolerant, but it's like,
and it's some other. I have a severe allergy basically to AMC. My body does not tolerate, and it's too bad because some of them taste real good. But I know I'll just be shitting my guts out for 3 days afterward. Wow, this metaphor has gotten away from us here.
It's very fun though. I love it. Love it.
So in the blog, tell us what stories make you shit yourself.
Is a lot of, if someone thinks of the stories if someone thinks of the stories that's best
that you're allergic to,
if someone thinks of the stories that's best for them, often like with food, it's the stories you don't want to eat. Like the Brussels sprouts of stories.
Have you had Breaking Bad? It's super tasty. And I'm like, yeah, my body just can't digest all that tragedy.
Have you watched?
I can't.
Have you watched Cosmos? It's a little like broccoli, but it's, maybe put some cheese on it and you'll be able to enjoy it.
I mean, I can eat, if there's nothing else around, I can eat Cosmos, but it's a little bland.
Right.
And I don't know how to season it.
It's good for you though. That's
point. That and all of Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater is just like hot sauce. Just dunk it on there.
Yeah, I love it. This is awesome.
It's like this has no flavor to it, but I drown it in RiffTrax and it's pretty okay. Oh,
I love it. That's great.
it's good. But yeah, no, what was the original point?
Frivolous purchases.
Frivolous purchases. I'm spending $5.99 a month on the RiffTrax thing, but it helps the food go down easier. I don't know. I feel like I have lost control of whatever I was saying. Let's go to that third thing.
Yeah, what's the third one?
I don't know, because my tablet was like, "You're clearly done with me." Ah, come back here. Oh crap.
I still have it right here. Do you want me to read it?
No, I'm getting it. Hold on. The problem is it's like it thinks we're done with it, and so it's like no more. Okay, here we go. How long do you think it'll be before you return to big public events like conventions? This is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, because more and more things are coming up. A friend is having a birthday party next weekend. It's in a park. And I think I'm going to attend, but I don't know how long I will be there or how much I will mingle per se. Also, I have friends and loved ones and all that who are, I think, starting to find it odd that we still very much aren't eating indoors in restaurants and things. Because I'm trying to do things. I was trying to plan lunch with a friend, and I'm like, the only day next week where it's not either raining or hot as balls is this day. And they're like, I can't do that day. And they're like, is it really that bad if we eat inside? And a lot more people are saying that. And there's a point to it, but I'm not there yet. And I mean, just on a certain level, it's less about fear of me contracting something, although that's a thing, but it's more about me participating in the normalizing of that experience. I don't want to be in a restaurant with a bunch of other people who are like, look at these people now. It's okay to do this, because I'm like, it's still kind of not. And we talk about that. Trish and I are going to be taking a trip next month, and there's lots of places we want to go on that trip, and we're like, maybe. We're not exactly going out to eat. We may go pick up things, but we're like, oh, but that'll be a month later. I don't know. So it's all very questionable right now. I heard somebody the other day say, thinking they were very cynical, that it's going to be next spring till things are finally getting around. And I found myself thinking, holy shit, that would be awesome if it was as soon as next spring.
Is that a kind of a new thing for you to think about how what you're doing might normalize something? That doesn't strike me as a thing you used to really think about or care about.
I mean, COVID has really pushed it to the front, but no, this is a thing I have done a lot. I talk about this. I talk about this in my new book. No, I talk about this with friends a lot. I feel like I've talked about it on here. Certain identity aspects of me, in particular, that I identify as transgender, specifically non-binary, and that identify as, I guess, pansexual. I usually say bi, but I guess it's probably pan. And I balance that because I don't want to take anything away from sort of the struggle of people in those positions,
Sure.
because I can totally live my life fine, because everybody just looks at me as a straight white guy, and so I don't have the difficulty. I don't have the perfect persecution. I don't want to take that. However, I try and talk about those things in casual conversation a great deal, because I absolutely want to normalize the fact that, yeah, we're fucking everywhere and it's fine and it's not a big deal. It's also why I talk about therapy. It's also why I talk about the meds I'm on.
Sure, right.
Because I want to, there are things out there that I think are important, and I want people to experience more the fact that that's okay and that's normal. And alternatively, COVID's a big one because I think there is a lot. COVID has been complicated because it is an issue of personal responsibility for broader society. And people have disconnects with that, and Americans really have disconnects with that. And so I'm not that scared of COVID. Most of the things I do related to precautions about COVID are about normalizing responsible behaviors. I mostly wear the masks. So when I go out and am in buildings and amongst people, I mean, obviously now we're getting more where they're requiring it, but the places that aren't, well, I talked before, I did it a lot based on the comfort level of the employees. If the employees were wearing masks, I was wearing a mask, even if the customers weren't. And nowadays in general, I'm just wearing them. I mean, I wear them through the drive-through. I don't know that I need to, but I'm like, no, I want people to see that this is still a thing because it's more responsible this way. And I really don't want to get COVID. I mean, and there are certain things that were important to my mental health for getting through this. And one of the big ones was when we got the vaccine and we could finally hang out together in private. Yeah. I can go see my friends in their house. We're all vaccinated. We're fine with that. I can hug them and all that. And as long as I have that, I'm okay with waiting on indoor dining. I think indoor dining is a bigger risk. There's more people, there's more strangers, there's less information you have about things. And as much as I miss that, it's not as big a deal to me as long as I can go see my friends in person and hug them and hang out with them. And I'm working really hard not to judge other people. So I'm not comfortable eating indoors anymore. It's fine if you do. There are some blatantly irresponsible things that I think some people do, but including the people who are like, I don't need no fucking vaccine, I'm gonna go do what I want. Fuck those people. But as I've said, God, for a long time now, everybody's level is different, and it's a balance of your vulnerability, your beliefs on social responsibility, and your mental health. Some things you're like, I need this. I will go crazy if I can't have this. And so it's a little bit riskier than others, but I need to do that. And I think I have some of those. And so, you know, everybody's got to do what they do. As long as everybody's taking it seriously and trying to be safe, then they do what they do. But in answer to the original thing about things like conventions and stuff, I don't know. I'll tell you this, I'm really hoping by next May that kind of stuff will be okay again, because this 2020 was the first time I was going to go to WizCon, and I was going to go, and my sister-in-law was going to go, and my wife was going to go, and we were very excited, and they had to cancel it. And this year they had to do an online only one, and I really want to go to that. So I'm really hoping by next year that'll happen. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, this is hard for me to answer because there's not a huge difference
Yeah.
for me. Like, I don't.
You live your life under quarantine already.
Yeah, right. Already. So, but that said, so let's say, just hypothetically, I know I'm really bad at this, but let's say hypothetically, I was going to go to a convention in 2020. Let's say the convention didn't get canceled. I would not have gone.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm totally honest, I don't think most conventions were canceled because they were worried about the dangers. I think most conventions were canceled because they were like, nobody's going to fucking show up.
No one's going to come. That's right. And I would have not, and the reason wouldn't have been for the usual reason that I don't like crowds and whatever. It would have been because, no, this is not safe. in 2021, this year, earlier, I might have gone and not even really thought much about it. I wouldn't go now.
I feel like June was our time of greatest confidence and least worry. Right around June,
Yeah. I might
would
have
done
gone
some shit.
if I was planning to go. If I was
Yeah.
planning to go, and if
You
they
wouldn't
were
be
going
like,
to,
you know what's fun? Let's do a convention.
right. If I was planning to go and they didn't cancel it, I probably would have gone. And I would have taken my mask so that I could have a mask for the places that required it, and also for the places that I didn't feel particularly comfortable, or where, like you said, other people seem uncomfortable with people not wearing masks. I can wear a mask if it makes other people comfortable. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not a particularly, I am one of those people that will tend to do some things, even if it's not necessary for the social value of doing it. I don't know if masking is one of those things, but I would have had it with me. And if I would have decided to wear it for that purpose, I would have. But I think I still would have gone, and I would have wanted to not wear the mask wherever I could not wear it, because I don't really like wearing masks, but I would wear it in appropriate places. I hope I would be appropriate about it. Now, I don't think I would go. Like, since probably, like you said, June, I would say in July, things were starting to be like, something's happening, right? It's like, this isn't okay.
We're all getting used to it, and we're all learning. I think the death toll is less than it was, but the infection rate now
Pretty high.
is pretty much higher than it's ever been.
Well, and of course,
because a healthy chunk of people are like, oh, it's over now. And then,
yeah. Now, I have to sort of amend that because, because of the surgery, and because I don't want to flunk my COVID test the day before the surgery, because then they'll push the surgery off. If I test positive with COVID, the odds that I'm going to have serious illness is almost nothing. But I don't want my surgery to get pushed off. But
so
even out,
you won't come to me with me to that macrame convention this Wednesday.
I mean, there are things that, like, I've been masking more than I might normally simply because of that. But to answer this question, I'm not taking that into account. I'm imagining that I don't really have any particular risk. Forget about the surgery. Would I feel comfortable going? Like, earlier this year, I would have, and with the conditions that I mentioned. But, like, I don't know when. Maybe in July. Certainly right now. If the convention was right now, and I wanted to go, I probably would say no, I'm not going, because it's just too. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get it, but I also don't want to give it to anyone else. That's probably my biggest concern, is giving it to someone else. I am vaccinated, and that's fine, but there are breakthrough cases and so on and so forth.
And
so I would just say no.
Vaccination has a very specific thing where, and they've actually did, where you can have it in your sinuses in such a way that it hasn't triggered your immune system yet. So you have no symptoms, but it's right in there. So that's your prime time for disseminating people.
Sure.
So that is stuff to watch out for. And I mean, we're going to take our trip next month. I'm going to see my family. My mother is currently in lockdown in the retirement place that she is. She has said, if that's still the case, by the time we show up, she's leaving and going to go stay with my sister for the duration. Cause she's like, I'm not going to not see my kid. Which I totally get. We'll be going to Trisha's family, I'm sure, for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And in fact, we're going in a couple weeks to see the kids do a choir concert and a play. These are in situations where they have sort of spaced things out more, but it's still in-person seating. I don't know that I would have done it if there was an online alternative, but there isn't this time. So we're going to do that. But by and large, I'm not even considering the possibility of just like normal shit. Like, we just go out to eat at a restaurant or go to a convention or something like that. I'd say throughout the winter. Spring's going to be the earliest, and it'll depend on a lot of factors. But I mean, I'm planning on having to huddle a lot for winter, except to go to my friends when we game. And even now, like, we get together for gaming, but then like a couple weeks ago, my friend had to travel for work, and nothing happened, and they didn't have any sickness or anything, but they're like, I've been in airplanes and I've been in other parts of the country. Let's skip it this week. And then assuming I have no symptoms or any other problems or anything, we can go back to in person the next week. I mean, we're keeping that stuff in mind.
That's common sense, right? I mean, you're just being
I think
careful.
so.
You know, I think that's perfectly sensible. I agree. I think you know, my official recovery time is going to be done like right before Thanksgiving. And I still don't feel comfortable saying for sure that we're just going to have Thanksgiving like usual. I don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know what my recovery is going to be like. I don't, and I actually don't even know after it's all said and done if I'm going to be one of the higher risk people because I've had heart surgery or whatever. I don't even know that. So I can't say. I hope that I can do Thanksgiving, but I'm not going to say right now if that's going to happen.
Not only could the state of the pandemic vary a lot by then,
right,
in either direction, but also even if there was no COVID and you were having open heart surgery where your recovery was ending around Thanksgiving, I feel like it's okay to say, let's put a pin in making that decision official.
Right.
So yeah, no, I think that totally makes sense.
But I think spring's probably about right. I think that's probably right.
I mean, hopefully, but we thought that last spring.
Yep, right.
I have a friend who long time ago, well before there was a vaccine, and she's vaccinated. She wears her mask when it's necessary. If she has been knowingly exposed, she quarantines and she gets tested. She's been tested a lot, but she pretty much doesn't do social distancing anymore or worrying about where she goes, and hasn't for a long time. And I'm not loving that. And in fact, there have been times where I know the stuff she was doing, and I'm like, you know what, we're gonna game online because I don't think I should be exposed to you for a week or two. She moved away now, so it's all online. But at the same time, she lives by herself, and I can't imagine having spent this whole all the time I'm indoor. I mean, it's weird enough that Trish goes to work and I'm here by myself. That's been difficult to the degree that I'm going to therapy about it. I can't imagine COVID where it's like, yeah, no, I'm just alone. So again, what your mental health will bear. And it varies. Also, if I was in that situation, I have the sneaking suspicion that I might do better than she would do because she is a very social creature. Also, I have years of experience of socializing with people online via text and things like that, and I'm more comfortable. So everybody's case is individual, and it's why I try not to judge. Again, as long as you are taking it seriously and as long as you are trying to be safe. And she is doing all of the things. She's just putting herself out there. And I mean, she's vaccinated and all that. Of course she is. Everybody's got to do what they got to do.
Wish home testing was more of a thing. I mean, I think that would really help people have some peace of mind.
Shockingly, I have never been tested so far.
I haven't either. As first time will be this week.
I've come a brush within it. My sister-in-law got it a few days. She got symptomatic a few days after I had seen her. And so we canceled gaming that week was definitely online and stuff, and we waited to see, but we never had any symptoms. So as far as I know, we didn't have it. And I mean, the rest of her immediate family didn't either. So I don't think it was a particularly spread thing around, but yeah, no, it would be really nice if that was more of a thing. But there's so much out there that we're all guessing. Hell, that was part of me deciding on therapy. I was like, a lot of this is because of COVID, and COVID might be over kind of soon, right? And eventually it's like, we don't fucking know. And so people are like, do we want to invest in the infrastructure for more testing, for more whatever? Well, when is this going to be done? So it would suck to put all the money into making tests much more readily available and all over the place, and then within 6 months we're done,
But also the discussion about it is pretty stressful. I mean, you're saying, we're guessing. So you go, as a citizen, a good citizen, someone who wants to make good choices and whatever. So you go out to find information to help you, and you cannot help but run into discussions that aren't helpful at all, that are highly politicized, that do not contain facts on both sides. You find this basically.
Yeah.
And so you really have to dig through to find, okay, I just want to know what the truth is. Don't tell me what your political take on it is. I don't care what the Democrats say or the Republicans say.
Well, and
I want
also
to know what the real scientists say.
spending time on the judgment stuff. I have a lot of people in my life whose views I 100% agree with, who I really want to shut up about, because I'm like, yeah, I am also pissed off at the huge swaths of people that got vaccinated. I am also surprised and confused why they're digging their heels on this. I also am mad at the guy who was president and how shitty he handled it. Why are we talking about this?
Yeah, I just want to know.
What is the benefit of this story? I'm already full. Stop it.
Yeah, I'm already full. Yes, exactly. I've eaten at this restaurant for weeks. I want something else.
I was going with allergic to AMC, but I think this is I'm already full is the name of this episode.
Yeah, so that part's stressful too, I think. And you know, it used to be when stuff like that was going on. What was the answer? Well, don't watch that channel, or don't just ignore it. But every time you go to find real information, you have to sort through all of that. You don't want to. You would love to avoid it. You'd love to shut that channel off or change the channel, but no, you've got to wade through it all just to get the information you want.
I don't ever look for real information. Actually, this is funny. I'm literally talking with my mom today, and she's like, how is it in Iowa? How's the infection rate and stuff? And I'm like, I have no idea. I said, like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm keeping myself relatively isolated from things. So it kind of doesn't matter in my day to day, and learning more is just gonna. And she's like, "Well, yeah, I'm pretty isolated too. It's just I get it on the internet." I'm like, "Yeah, I avoid that."
Like, kind of have to. But then how do you get information though? How do you get good scientific information about what's going on if you don't get online and find it?
I mean, usually it comes to me whether I want to or not. But mostly I continue to be a late adopter in all things, which means a whole bunch of shit will have happened that will be big news before I'm like, okay, things are fine again. Which is how it should be anyway. I'm not the fucking canary in the coal mine. And there's not going to be a survey, a study that's it's awesome now. No, it's going to be like a bunch of things have been happening. More people are going out. Infection rates are down. And at a certain point, that information is going to come to me, probably through friends who can't help but look at this stuff, because most of the places I'm getting my information that's annoying me is not from the internet. It's from friends who read the internet. So eventually it'll get there. Or if enough time goes by and I'm like, wow, I've been really good at avoiding all this, and I feel like I don't actually know what's happening with COVID, then I'll do some hunting. But I also very much in those situations, I'm like, just give me stats. I don't want, and there are certain places you can go that I'm like, I'm not getting articles, I'm getting stats. But like Google, I frequently get a lot of the rates and stuff just from Google without clicking on specific things.
That's good. That's good.
But for the most part, I'm like, no, it's by the time I'm comfortable with the information being true, it will have come to me. And I mean, and then I may take some effort to verify it. But
well, for pretty much my whole life, I've tried to be a good citizen, whatever I thought that meant at the time. And of course, what that means has changed, right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you,
that's why he killed all those Russians.
Tell you, it has never been harder in my whole life to be a informed citizen. It's never been harder. Now, like you said, you can go right to the stats, and that's good if you can find them without having to
trust the source of the stats.
Exactly. Sometimes the way I find the reliable statistics is as I see an article, maybe that I think the article's terrible, but it'll link to the statistics, and I can just go look at the stats myself, and I don't have to worry about this person's dumb take on it.
I say do your own samples. just start calling random digits on the phone and be like, so have you had COVID? Do you currently have
So
COVID? Have
hard.
you been vaccinated? I mean, I'll help you write up the survey. You got to make all the cold calls, but I'll help you write up the survey.
I know people don't think this about me for some reason, but I'm actually a very emotionally sensitive person, right? So when people are hating each other out in the world, it hurts. When people are being hateful to one another, it hurts me. I don't like it. It feels bad to me personally, which might be dumb, but it's just how it is. And it's bothersome. So
yeah, no, this is the reason people think that is you have got some really fucking impressive walls. You are made of goddamn titanium. People don't understand that there is the squishiest of nougat inside that layer of titanium.
I'm like a titanium M&M.
Yeah, you are arguably one of the most emotional people I know, and you are far and away the least emotionally expressive person I know. And it's not to say that you're dishonest. You will say, I am incredibly sad right now. I am absolutely tormented by the things I have learned.
Is
but
it
just
really
say it like that.
Is it really like that?
I mean, it's not quite. I'm
You're
putting in some artistic license, but like that's the thing. When it comes to your emotions, first of all, you very much don't want them to interfere with your rational position. So you push them to the side for that. But also, you don't want to make them other people's problems. And so you aren't emotional demonstratively. You are all tell, no show when it comes to your emotional state. And you are honest in your telling, but most people aren't like that. So everybody's like, yeah, okay. He says he's super sad. He doesn't look super sad. He just says he is.
That's a good point, because I mean, I think I've often said on the podcast that something happened and I was just bawling like a baby or whatever. But who do I know who's actually seen that happen? Not very many people.
Very few
not
people.
very many people.
And that's fine, but it's very unusual. And it's a thing. I mean, I knew you for years before I got a glimpse of the nougat. Glimpse of the Nougats. That is my new Pixies cover band.
What's the point of having nougat, tasty nougat on the inside if it's covered with titanium and nobody can get to it? What's the point?
I mean, I second the motion.
Second that emotion.
Although you will realize at no point did I use the word tasty when describing your nougat.
Okay, well, it's nougat though. You should say it's something else, like slime.
You can have bad nougat. You can have bad nougat.
Bad nougat. Are you sure that's not the title of the podcast?
No, Bad Nougat is the name of my Ted Nugent cover band.
Okay.
Bad Nougat is good.
Yeah,
fuck.
That's kind of on the nose.
Yeah, it might have to be Bad Nougat. Okay, yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it has to be Bad Nougat. Now I'm just thinking of the song Bad Medicine, but replace it. Your love is like bad nougat. Bad nougat is what I need. Oh, sorry. I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, don't.
Copyright there.
No,
yeah.
Let's be careful.
We are super over time. I'm sorry we couldn't get to more emails, but Craig did 3 sneakily in his. And also, when we get a good metaphor, I mean, that's going to be the episode.
Yeah.
As you can tell, because we accidentally came back to it twice. Like, we moved on and then still on different topics came back to the same metaphor. So that is the real heart of the show. If William and I can find a metaphor that entertains both of us, that's the episode.
That's it. Thanks, Craig. You're awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Craig. Thank you all who are writing. There are people. I don't know. My hunch is that this format will go through emails faster. That's a little counterintuitive to the way the emails worked. I guess we'll have to see. That may also be a change in me. I'm getting to where, because I did this before, when we're gonna do an episode, I'm like, okay, what's the shit I want to talk about? Like, aside from questions, like, are there movies, TV shows that I've watched that I want to talk about? And I'm not saying I'm succeeding at this point, but I am doing more of, is this one worth talking about? I mean, people don't have to know every piece of media I consume, especially if they're not very good or I don't really care. And so I'm trying to be more picky about that to give more time over to the emails.
Yeah, it's kind of hard though, because all the stuff you talk about before we draw questions are the things you used to come to my desk and talk about.
That's the
what
thing.
it is.
It's because this is almost, other than the occasional text and like 2 to 5 minutes before we record, this is our whole time.
Yeah, this is
of
what we used to
talking.
do all
And
the time.
we worked around it a little bit for a while when we were back to, pancakes, but now that's all fucked again. So, and both of us do not have homes that we consider clean enough to invite the other one over.
Getting
So
there, but it's not.
yeah, so that's a problem. But I mean, you used to see it anyway. Maybe I should invite you over one of these times. But we'll see. Let's see. Let's see how your recovery works first. I don't want you over here with like tubes sticking out.
Yeah, I don't want that either.
dripping spleen on my nice carpet.
Right.
I lie. My carpet's not nice. I still don't want you dripping spleen on it though. All right. In the meantime, you guys send us emails, themagicaltalkinghead@gmail.com. Also go to the blog and you talk about those things that we just talked about. I've already forgotten them. I'm super excited because the little blurb for the show, I'm not writing the questions down anymore because it's fucking insane because they're now full length like emails and shit. So I'm super glad I don't have to do that anymore because I would have to hold on to those note cards nearby until I knew they were ready.
Say that we answered an email from Craig or something, maybe.
I might throw that in there. Yeah.
So that way Craig would know his thing got addressed.
That would be nice. Also, if he just listened, he'd know too. But
no, but it'd be nice.
No, I think that is a good thing to throw in there. All right. And then so this is Sunday. You'll hear this Thursday, and then the following Thursday, I'll be here. Depending on how William goes, we may have a special guest host. But we'll see. I mean,
I could still be in the hospital. Yeah. Hopefully I won't still be in the hospital. Hopefully I'll be home.
He might have panicked and fled, like that Simpsons episode where Homer's going to donate a kidney and keeps running away. Could be that kind of thing. So, I mean, in this case, it makes less sense.
Hopefully I'll at least
donating or anything.
Hopefully I'll at least be out. But I might not feel up to.
You think the surgery is going to turn you gay?
The only way to come out, I could come out. I don't want to make something. I just realized nope.
I'm now super excited to see what happens after the surgery. Stay tuned in a week or two when William's going to come out. We don't know about what or how, but something. Speaking of which, season 5 of Kim's Convenience continues to be trash. If you haven't watched Kim's Convenience and you're going to start, do like the first 3 seasons. It's good. It is good, but then you can probably stop. Or you could try 4, but then 4 is going to end on a bunch of cliffhangers and you don't want to go on to see how that goes. Trust me. Anyway, keep listening and keep reaching for that hot dog.